Welcome back to Development Tank. Here we are, the end of 2024. Pumped to be here. We've got Claire, we've got Gav. We're just doing a wrap up for you guys. We want to wrap up 2024, talk about what's to come in 2025. Where do we win? Where do we lose? What's coming up? We're going to talk about the Little Fish Network that launched this year. That's been awesome, been an awesome success. I want to talk about the Expos, how awesome they were, and we're locked in and locked and loaded for next year as well. So let's get into it. Gav and Claire, thanks for joining. It's the end of the year. Everyone's pretty happy. Everyone's looking for a break. How are we going towards the end of the year?
We're busy in projects. Don't know if you're busy, but we are busy.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've been really busy. I've got quite a few clients actually. We're trying to get something nailed in before the end of the year.
100%. And the market's a bit flat here in Victoria, so keen to lock them away before and get them some value.
Yeah, look, our clients has been pretty savvy, so they know that we're at the bottom of the market, so they want to try and secure something as soon as possible.
Yeah, awesome. And Claire, so you say you're busy. What's going on in projects team? What are the big milestones you're trying to hit before?
We've got a lot of builds finishing before Christmas. We've got a few owner ocs wanting to get into their home before Christmas, but probably similar to your clients, Gav, it's just finishing off everything, putting a nice bow in it, and then moving into the new year. I think builders particularly, if they can finish a job pre-Christmas and get that fresh start in the new year, they want to.
They like to get paid for Christmas, don't they?
Yeah, and pay all their subbies.
Yeah.
I think it's that real roadblock in the year where people just want to get as much as they can done. So when they do put the shoes up and put the queue in the rack, that they've got something to show for it.
It's constantly, it's that battle. We've got the investor clients who we still have builders pushing to the end, but obviously at this point in time, if your project's not handed over, you're not selling pre-Christmas. That ship has sailed. So it's almost with the builders who have a couple of projects with us, we say, don't worry about too much about those. Let's just make sure they're perfect and hand them over in Jan.
Yeah.
But the owner ocs, it's a completely different game, and it's full steam ahead. Let's get them in for Christmas.
Yeah, spot on. It's definitely a different space, isn't it? They want to be in for Christmas, where the investors probably want to be finished and all tidied up mid to late Jan, get some furniture in and rock and roll.
For Feb.
Yeah, love it. Hey, 2024, Gav, can you talk to me about what you saw in the market? Bit of an overview, I suppose, of the journey we've gone on, some of the maybe projects that we've bought for clients, and then we'll get into 2025.
I guess just as an overview, as far as the market goes, it's been a bit of a waiting game, really. Buyers and sellers have been waiting for the RBA to come to the party and just, I guess, ease the pressure, and people that can afford to hold on to properties are holding on to them. Buyers are sort of a little nervous as well because they want the lower interest rate. So it's just been a little bit slow. There's always people who are forced to sell to cease estates and so forth now, but they're usually competitive. So not our favourite type of project, but doesn't say we don't buy them if they don't stack up and we can't secure them. But overall, I guess it's been we've had a good year. I think we've had a pretty good year actually, considering the market, because we are I guess a passenger to the market in some respects. And although our projects are 18 to 24 months, and then even some, so we sort of cross over a bit. But I guess having some challenges, I guess with good businesses, you always sort of look at how you can do things differently. And for us, it's just being able to provide a product and a service that reaches, I guess, a broader range of clients. So people that may have a lesser budget, looking for products and services that can get them under our umbrella, and we can really service them, which is what ReadyBuild ultimately has done. But that's been a work in progress, as we know, over the last year, and it's really starting to get some traction.
Yeah, 100%. I think we've got some episodes coming out early in the new year as well. We're exploring different options, cheaper sites, cheaper builds, just trying to find that margin for our clients. But yeah, ReadyBuild's been a revelation and has been able to get people into the marketplace where they wouldn't. We're dealing with a client at the moment that's custom build just wasn't going to happen, Claire, and now has an option that's genuinely $300K cheaper than where his build sits now.
Yeah, 100%. I think the ReadyBuild is super, super exciting. Like you said, Gav, it took a while, 6 months of meetings, designing, and trying to get a product that almost combines our custom world but have it in a volume space where we have the efficiencies and the build efficiencies to be able to bring that price down, but still create a beautiful, well-designed and considered family home. And I guess the custom space is a great space to be in, especially A, if you're in the right suburb, B, if you've got the budget and you want to have all the 5 different items that you can't
all
have.
the nice to haves. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because I guess in a perfect world, everyone would probably go custom. You'd have to argue. I mean, unless it's purely
100%.
investment.
If someone else was shouting, of course you would. Yeah.
But to have that option that I think we've spoken about heaps, to have that option for, there's a whole pool of people who just can't get into that development space. And this is an opportunity that it might be an owner-occupied, it might be investment, it might be based on the fact you're in this suburb instead of this suburb, but ultimately it's creating that Australian family home with a considered approach, but still for the budget of what you get maybe in an unconsidered space.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like I said, the example earlier where we've got a great client of ours that has pushed through the custom, has loved the process. You guys have worked really hard on the value management, bringing that down from even a higher place than where it was. And to have him sitting there and genuinely not be able to do the project and then maybe sell the site and lose money or sit there and pay his land tax and all this sort of stuff. He's in a bit of a bind, so he needs an exit, he needs a new path, and for this to be an option and a path he's going down now, that was a moment for me where I was sort of like, oh, this is a real thing.
Well, we didn't have this option 12 months ago.
No,
so
correct.
if we were 12 months ago, this client, they sold another property, they didn't get the price that they maybe should have or could have maybe 12 months ago because of the property market. And now without this option, they would have been, like you said, they're selling and they're losing. Whereas now they have this other option. And I think, as I said to this client and you've said as well, but they're going to be very happy with this end product. Yes, they might not have, 5 different tiles from 5 different suppliers that they picked, but they're going to be very happy with the end product.
The look and feel is still going to be up there.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree, totally agree. The ReadyBuild's taken off. Gav, can we talk about the single dwellings? Because obviously people know us for our townhouses. ReadyBuild Dual, that's the client that is flipping to a ReadyBuild Dual. But the singles have been a big hit, something that you drip fed into us at least 12 months ago, and it just started to work, and then it aligned with our builder in ReadyBuild having a display and delivering quite a good product and value for money, to say the least.
Yeah, that's right. I've had just personally, for my own journey, I've had my eye on it in respect of does it work, doesn't work, or doesn't it work, is there money in it? And what it's done ultimately, we've gone through the process we've discussed, is it's provided me with a couple of highlights of the year where one of the sites which we discussed in the Dev Tank on Welwyn Ave, exciting projects, Bayside, big house, we're going to spec it up a bit, do something really nice outside, 14-month program, and we're making some really good profit. So that in itself, just purely from a numbers and projects perspective, that's I think exciting. And the second thing would be the fact that we've probably had at least 2 I can think of clients that have come to us with not quite the money to do a dual lock. And we've gone out and we've found sites that are around 1.3, 1.35. They're doing a big single house on it. And both the clients I'm thinking of were quite young and it's their first project. They wanted to get in. Normally we'd probably have to sell it, we can't help you. And now they're active. We've got sites, we're in planning, one's close to finishing off. They'll be finishing up towards the end of next year and making a good profit.
Yeah, and I think, especially if you hit the right suburbs as well, because it's a bit of a culture play as well. I know along Bayside probably less so, but you get in the Doncaster areas, the Mountain Glen Waverley areas, the what do they call them, 3-generational sort of living families that, it's all in, and they really love big homes and they pay a lot of money for them. So I think there's a great space for that.
And it's good because these are people that we may not have been able to service. And they're in our network now. They're really enjoying the service. They're really enjoying the process, and we're helping them make money. So they're excited to get this done and to go again.
I think we've obviously spoken a lot about the ReadyBuild here, but it's been such a big, I guess a big pivot this year for us and really exciting. But over the journey of ReadyBuild, especially with the ReadyBuild single, I think what is it so great that we've been able to do is our usual consultants or industry experts that we collaborate with, we've brought those all together and we've challenged the plans that the volume space is producing. And what we've kept is the efficiencies and the build costs down. But what we've taken is from our custom space is those considered spaces. So I'm just thinking out loud because you mentioned Welwyn, that design, we've pushed and pulled it, and it's going to be one of our best developments, and it's a single.
Yeah, 100%. I think it can't be understated how much effort's gone into dialing them in and creating the best from custom. But like you said, using those efficiencies that get it into a price point that our clients are finding margins.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
We made some big changes, but the footprint itself stayed the same. So ultimately what that means is the price we sort of kept a lid on. So it really has, the interior design changes that you and the team have come up with are quite substantial, I think, and they really make it that next level up in I guess, quality of use of space and lifestyle that we're going to provide. But the budget's still...
And while challenging them, we were getting cost comparisons and saying, okay, well, this is going to be a cost neutral if we do this. This is going to be an extra cost, but we see that it's worth it. And still getting to a price point that makes a lot of sense, but getting that custom feel.
Yeah, and that's always been the magic in property development is value for money, getting something to market that's going to sell for a lot of money, but budgets are getting hard held and making sure they're getting hit. Gav, 2025, what's coming? I know no one knows, no one's got a crystal ball, but what are you looking forward to in 2025?
I think it's just going to take a bit longer than we all want it to for rates to come down. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the commentators are wrong. But also, I talk to agents all the time, every day, and the general consensus from them is that yes, a lot of people are waiting, but even so, they feel that even if we get 2 quick cuts, even if they're mid-year, it's not like all of a sudden we're going to see a 10% increase in property values. It just means that obviously the sentiment is going to be a lot better. You'll probably find that you might have 2 or 3 buyers competing for a property rather than one buyer actually, and the agents having to negotiate between the buyer and the vendor. So it creates a bit more competition, and I think what that then does is if you do have the right property in the right place, you're going to have 4 or 5 people competing for it instead of 2. That's where you could potentially sort of get a good uplift. So overall, we're going to look back, I'm pretty confident we're going to look back in 12 months' time and think, geez, that site we passed on for 1.6 because we thought it might have been a little bit too much, would probably look like a bargain. Yeah. If I had much deeper pockets than what I do, I'd be out buying properties between now and the first quarter of next year.
Yeah, 100%, Gav, love it. Claire, 2024 for you. Like we were saying earlier, we've touched on a few things, the ReadyBuild process, the custom developments, but we've dropped a couple of episodes this year around slashing build costs and those sorts of things. I think it's a really important one. It's been an important one for the last few years, but it's definitely still really relevant based on how many views we had on that episode. But the work you guys are putting into sort of value managing and that sort of stuff's never been more active, and it's never been a bigger part of your jobs. How is that going? And then obviously we'll get into what sort of 2025 might look like.
Yeah, I think build costs are still trending upwards. Like definitely throughout that COVID period, the couple of years, not as aggressively and not as unknown, but they certainly haven't gone backwards, which was expected. And they've stabilized compared to those couple of years that we talked about, but they're still trending upwards, which to be completely honest is frustrating because, frustrating for you, frustrating for us. But like you said, it is where the projects team, we spend all our time. Gone are the days that we will get our tenders back and sign a builder up the next week. They're just gone, unfortunately, which is probably a reason we pushed ReadyBuild. You've got a bit more control on the price. In saying that, what we have seen is, I guess, builders a bit more competitive. So they're looking for work. The general conversation with builders are that their subbies are looking for work. So even though prices are trending up, you have a little bit more room to negotiate, or builders will come in a little bit tighter at that tender stage. You might see out of the 4, you might see one that might be 100 grand less, and you sort of go through it with a fine tooth comb, because we all know, as we've spoken about on dev tanks, that can be a red flag. But you go through it with a fine tooth comb, and by the end, you get the gist that builder just wants the job.
That's the question I had for you actually, is what's the trend with the builders now? Because they've got projects that are finishing this year, they've got projects that are finishing in 6 or 12 months, but they're always thinking about what are they going to be, what are they going to be finishing in, say, 2026, in 18 to 24 months. That's their pipeline. So, how much more aggressive are they being? They're the factors you're talking about. So it's tradies are starting to look for a bit of work. So maybe there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
All this whole conversation, you say there's less property out there, we're buying a little bit less, it's harder, some build costs aren't going ahead. That pool ultimately comes down to less work for a flow of different people. Yeah. So it's definitely obvious the competitiveness is starting to encroach, and probably towards the end of this year more so, which is a positive, but definitely not going backwards in pricing.
The trick is the builders still aren't going to do it for nothing either. So it's still that raw cost is increasing, and regulations and sort of all these sorts of things, 7-star energy rating, all these sort of things add into that raw cost. And even though you might get a bit of squeeze on the margin for builders to pick up work and keep rolling, but it's a big thing. What does 2025 look like, do you think?
Build costs, or just in general?
Build costs in general.
Build costs, if we're going off the last 4 years, it's probably still going to trend upwards. But like we just said, I'm thinking it's going to be quite competitive. Yeah. We touch on a couple of dev tanks. I think also the consumer, being the client and the purchaser at the other end, they're quite smart these days. They know what they're buying. They know the interiors. So that naturally in the custom space is driving your price up. So there's only so many times you can encourage a client to say, let's keep it simple. Let's stick with just the one tile. Let's do this. But those introducing different elements, and I really want this particular natural stone, they add up. We see it every day, and I don't think that's going backwards. What I'd like to see in 2025 is, let's just go simple. Let's peel it back. ReadyBuild's a great start to that. But even in the custom space, while 5 different tiles can look beautiful and create moments, I think keeping it simple, doesn't scare builders off, and it's a safe play at the other end. So I'd like to focus on a simple 2025.
One thing I have noticed is definitely, like as we sit here now, your run-of-the-mill standard townhouse is probably down 10%, right, across the board. Some suburbs maybe a little bit more even. But because I look at not just properties to buy and doing feasibilities, and I'm looking for comps, but I also see townhouses and homes that are selling at the moment, quite a lot of them. And there have been some really good, strong sales for both townhouses and homes that are spec'd really, really well. So yes, custom homes using great stone, really nice design elements. You can tell that it's bespoke, you can tell that it's expensive to build, but they're actually selling well. Murrumbina, there was a $2.5 million townhouse sale on a corner block. So freestanding home, probably around 28 squares, I think it was. So, but really, really nice. But it sold for 2.5 mil. So the one next to it or the one down the road, they're not all going to do that. But it just does show that. That's just one example of quite a few. We've seen some big sales down in the Bentley area for, again, big blocks, north facing, 32 plus squares, pool, money spent, no doubt. But the resales are there. So there is, I think, some money in the market still for really well designed, custom, well spec'd homes.
Definitely.
And I think we've got a couple of great projects coming through. They've been on the dev tank, your service, your dailies, all these sorts of stuff down in those gillies, in those great Bayside suburbs, yes, in the northern suburbs in Fairfield there. So they've all been on the dev tank. We'll give everyone updates in 2025. But yeah, they're exactly what you're talking about, and they're exactly the markets that we'll be appealing to. So yeah, even though obviously we are talking about the ReadyBuild and talking about, you know, going cheaper and more efficient and providing value for money, there's still the people in the market that love the good stuff and in these great suburbs and these great locations. So
I think there's a place, right?
Yeah, 100%,
like Gillies in a ReadyBuild form, I don't believe we get our resales that we're going to get from the custom, because every element of that house has been so considered and so thought after. We've got commercial range windows there, and I know that buyer knows what they're buying and also expects it for that level. It's just a completely different level of purchasing.
Well, the thing is, we've bought in a suburb, we've bought in a really good area, a really good street, close to train, village, good school zones, all that sort of stuff. So you're gonna undercapitalise unless you do deliver a really bespoke product. You know, there's only two of them. You know, there's only two of them. That's it. And you know, to hit those sort of $3 million sales, which is where we believe they'll sit, you need to deliver something special. You're gonna lose too much off your resales if you go too light. So, like you said, there's, you know, we play right across the spectrum. You know, helping people get into the market on a budget, but then also the investors with deeper pockets that want to get involved in more exciting projects, and then that end user that's you know, they like what they like, they know what they like, they're smart, they're educated, like you said, and they want the good stuff.
Yeah.
So even in this super soft market, if the block 5 doors up from Gillies came on the market, you'd still go custom there, yeah?
I think so, yeah. It depends which end of Gillies. Like Gillies is a long street, but up our end where we like to play.
If we're still,
that's right, isn't it?
We're still chasing those resales. I would 10 times over.
If you're
10 times over.
If you
think about the Gillies design, we've designed it completely around the northern sun, the pool, the internal courtyards. That is, it's not possible in that volume space. We've had our custom designs priced in that volume space, and the prices are the same or similar.
I think that's not a play. You'd have to put an actual, you know, ReadyBuild design on there, ready to go. Maybe a couple of small tweaks, which, as we know, they can be tweaked and customised to a degree. But like for me, Gillies, like you might save 600 in the build. 600 in the build, but you might cost yourself 500 each dwelling.
So I guess
like that's where sort of I'm at. Like you're down.
Yeah, and with that particular question, then you would say, well, if we were 500 to a kilometre, 500 metres to a kilometre up the road, away from the town centre, away from the train station, that's where it would fit.
Well, you're getting closer, 100%, and then, you know, obviously horses for courses, and you have to look at each one. But as you're getting further away and your resales are coming down, your build needs to come down with it, because there's your margin. So, spot on. And this is what we do. This is what we look at all the time. But yeah, super excited for those projects to come to light. Gillies will finish in 2025. The other ones I mentioned, Service and Daily, they'll kick off.
Yep, Service should start early next year, the build. Daily will probably start maybe towards Easter.
McKinnon Road's getting a sneaky start in 2024, I hear. So that's a great one.
That's a great
to hit
one.
the market. That's a really good project.
Yeah.
So all these projects are going to be more or less on the market, you know, once we get through this little sort of patch now.
And everyone wants to buy
it'll be third quarter, fourth quarter next year.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, and we've got those type of clients that have stormed through, you know, pushed through the storm, with less projects going to market, less competition out there. You know, if their completions can coincide with better market sentiment, a sneaky rate cut, you know, like
spring campaign,
they could go really well. So anyway, fingers crossed for those guys. Quickly, guys, we've got the Little Fish Network that launched this year. It's been super exciting. It's an amazing community in there. There's some exciting things we're working on inside the network, Claire, like the partnerships. Like, do you want to talk to us a little bit about that and the things that are going to flow through? We were just talking off air then, that are going to flow through in 2025.
The partnerships have been really exciting, I think. I mean, the network as a whole has been great. It's also exciting for us in the office to see the community come together, the Expos. That really gave you a taste of the members in the network and what we are creating, which I think is really exciting. But the partnerships has been something, yes, it's been a long time coming, I think. We've been working on it majority of the year, but partnering with the right suppliers getting the best commercial deals we can possibly get for our development's a huge one.
I was genuinely surprised with the discounts.
Same.
How good they were.
They were awesome.
The fact that we're cheaper than builders going, oh wow, and we're dragging the price down. That was a real kick.
I think Gillies was the perfect example. ABI, one of our partners, the discount that we got there brought just under $7,000 off a dual lock, so a side by side. $7,000, and then you add your stone, flooring, you start to add those costings, they all add up, but $7,000, like you wouldn't walk past it on the street, would you?
No, 100%. And that's the thing, if you're not in the network, littlefishnetwork.com.au/free, if you're not in there, it's just a no-brainer. If you are actually doing a project and you want to deal with the ABIs, RMS stones coming through, Signorino, ENS Trading, Smeg, Woodcut, the list goes on. Tens of thousands of dollars of savings and cheaper than the builder that's going to be quoting on your job. So
well that ABI, that discount pays for your membership five years in a row.
100%. We didn't even mention DIY Blinds, Home
true.
Pro, one of our favourite partners over there, over the back in Collingwood. But shout out Evan. But yeah, this is what's in there. So to not be a member through your project is just madness. And not to mention be in there, collaborate, ask questions. When issues arise in your project, access the team. Anyway, do yourself a favour. But yeah, some exciting things coming next year in the network.
And also good to challenge the people we want to partner with. So, I mean, a team of us, a few of us, we met with different brands, different suppliers, and we're sure we made the right choice. But to have that, it doesn't hurt to have that sprinkle of brand throughout your development, especially when you're marketing it. And that's something that, in addition to the ReadyBuild, we've been able to pull those brands in where we can.
So do you think we've found a good blend, a good mix between getting that brand name that you can market at the end of a project, but also the value for money?
Yeah, and the good quality product.
Yeah.
All combined. As I said before, consumers, purchasers, they know what they're buying these days. The block has done that for us, so thank you. Yeah. But everyone knows what they're buying. So to say, oh, I've got ABI tapware, or I've got Signorino stone, or RMS traders, pavers, like people know what they're buying.
Yeah.
And I think that's yes, the ReadyBuild has a home, but that is where the custom space thrives and lives, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Quick one, we went to 3 expos in 2024. We're going to hit up the same expos in 2025. Just give us just high level, Gav, your thoughts of the expo, connecting with people coming up to you, getting autographs, mate. How was it?
There wasn't many of that, but there were a couple of highlights. And I think firstly was just having a few people, we chatted to hundreds of people, but in particular there were a few people that came in and they wanted to have a chat with us, with me, and done their homework, knew their numbers, done some FISOs, and you just end up talking shop for an hour or more with people, young guy, I think it was Marcus, I think he's got a building background, but he's not quite there yet, but just in it, really in it, doing mock feasibilities in the market, looking and just absorbing and having a really good in-depth conversation. And sometimes you can forget in here, because we do this all day, that there's people out there that want to learn and may not know as much as what they need to, and just having an hour chat with someone can completely, I guess, change their direction, or just make them feel more confident about taking the next step, or even just knowing what questions to ask next, because they've learned so much. So having those people to talk to at the expos in person was great. The other highlight was having a rental e-bike ride through Sydney City at night with Bon and Jonesy. That was the other highlight.
Glad to hear you looking after yourself up there, Gav. Hopefully our insurances are paid up. Claire, what about you at the expos? You were another person that people were able to connect with, with all your, I guess, shows on the dev tank and all that sort of stuff. What did you get from it, and how did you enjoy it?
I loved so I went to Brisbane and Sydney. I couldn't make Melbourne. Yeah, I really enjoyed the expo. I think meeting people from the network who I'd been communicating with over online, getting, names, faces, all of that. That was super exciting. Seeing how passionate outsiders were about not only the Little Fish Network, but also just developing and property in general, like you were saying, that a lot of people know what they're talking about, but they don't do it as a day job. And then I think Brisbane was super exciting for me. I just being in Brisbane at the network, it was a very different feel to Sydney. I don't know if you agree, but everyone there was super excited about the Brisbane property market. It was like a country town, but it was like, let's just develop.
No, I couldn't agree more. We went to Melbourne first, and a fella that we got, Ramsey, shout out. We did a bit of content with him, but he said that, hey, Sydney and Brisbane will be more bullish up there, and yeah, he was definitely right. So yeah, it definitely opened up my eyes. As we look to do new things in our business, you can't help but think, what can we start doing in other states and that sort of thing. So with the network, with the ReadyBuild product, all these sorts of things, for us to break into other states isn't that far away, I don't think. So that was a really good sort of eye-opener, and just to have people come to you and how sort of excited they are reminds you that people are watching, and this does excite a lot of people, and they are very thirsty for this information and these insights.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think Brisbane, you got that sense? I reckon there was 4 people who said, when are you opening up in Brisbane? And then Gav wasn't in Brisbane, but when we came back, he said, I'll move.
I think everyone put their hand up to open up the office up there.
Well, it's okay. You can join me because I'll be opening up in Burleigh in a couple of years. I actually went up for holidays there not long after you got back from the Expo, and I have to say, when you guys came back, particularly you, PK, you came back with a head full of steam from the Brisbane Expo. You were on fire. But yeah, I spent some time in Burleigh, and I was just sitting there, sipping my latte and dreaming of what it would be like to go for a swim before work. Yeah, but
not in Melbourne.
But yeah, definitely came back full of vibes from Brisbane, and I think, and as we may have mentioned on a couple of pods, we know people out there in the market, big organisations who buy investment properties for hundreds of people. They're starting to look at selling up some of their properties now in Brisbane and Perth because they think they're starting to max out and they're starting to put their attention back in Melbourne. So, I'd like to think that maybe in 12 or 18 months' time, we're going to have that same sort of energy and vibe here in Melbourne where, we're easily the most underperforming market in the country. And have been for a long time. But the thing is, all the things about Melbourne that make it special, why people love to live here and why people like to invest in real estate here, they haven't changed. They haven't gone away.
Spot on. It's just that sentiment changes and people go away. But yeah, you definitely feel like those noisy commentators are circling back to come down to Victoria. That's good, guys. Great year. Have a good break, everyone. We'll be back with the development tank in 2025. Quick little teaser. The property tank will be hitting YouTube, Spotify, all the channels, Bonnie, fair to say. The property tank, a bit more property centric, going to be having guests, a bit more broader focus than just our niche in property development, but super excited to bring you guys that. We'll be bringing it to you guys in the amazing quality that everything pumps out these days. But again, guys, that's a little teaser, so make sure you stick around for that and hit the subscribe button. It'll be on this channel. But guys, thanks for an awesome year. We've killed it. Tough market, but we've rocked and rolled. We've got through it, and look forward to kicking off 2025.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good year for us and for the market, I hope.
Correct. I think we've done a lot of building this year with all the things we've mentioned, and next year it's go time.
Yeah, it's just more clients that we're able to service and look after, I think.
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks, guys. Happy developing, everyone. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. See you at the top. 2025, here we come.